How do politicians show muscle power? Money. Followers. Come on, you guys are being too safe. Give me the real answer. Goons. There you go, Yuvraj. Yeah. So that's how they show muscle power, right? Through gundas and goons and things like that. How do entrepreneurs show muscle power? Through lawyers. That's what we do. We lawyer up. That's what they say, right? Any good CEO will have a corporate lawyer, a civil lawyer, a criminal lawyer, right? On their payroll. Anytime something happens, what we say is, I'm going to send you a legal notice, right? Or I'm going to take you to court. I'm going to make you pay for it. That's how we show muscle power, right? So today, although it might sound like a boring topic, see this as something that gives power in your hands. That's what business law is all about. And when you know this, people cannot exploit you. People cannot, stifle you, because there's a lot of tools that you have in your hands. All right. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So first thing we'll talk about is incorporation. So when you incorporate your company, there are various structures for incorporation. First thing is, if you don't do anything and you start a business, by default, that is called sole proprietorship, where you're basically the owner of the company. Money that comes in through the transactions goes to your personal bank account, and you personally pay taxes, plus there are some qualified aspects that you have to put in as business expense and things like that. So is it good or bad? Neither. The point is, in case, okay, I'll tell you later what's the difference. So that's the easiest thing to do is sole proprietorship. Then comes limited liability partnerships, LLP. Okay, limited liability partnership, or LLC, limited liability corporation. What that does is, so limited liability, what does it mean? In its own words, what is liability in a business? What kinds of things are liabilities? Can anybody say? Assets and liabilities, I'm sure you have heard. What's a liability in a business?
Please, entrepreneurs, answer. These are basic concepts.
Borrowed funds, correct? Yeah. So borrowed funds, money that is due to your vendors, things that are basically other people's money that you have in your possession. That's called credits. Yes.
So where we exactly pay back the money after a certain period of time. So that is called liability.
Right. So we are liable for paying somebody off. Now, what happens? Sometimes the business is running at losses and they're not able to pay the liability. You have taken loans, but the company is going down, right? So what happens is, or you've taken investments and the company goes down. So in LLP, LLC, or a private limited company, what happens is, when the company goes down, you as an individual, you're protected. All you got to do is file for bankruptcy, and all the loans and everything else goes down with the company. Company gets killed, you don't get killed. You can live your life, your property, your money, your bank account doesn't get touched, unless of course you defraud, right? If you do fraudulent things, then you're in trouble as a director, and they'll come after you directly, like with Yes Bank and other few banks that it has happened, where the directors have gone to jail because they have done something that is unethical. But otherwise, if for all the right things you've done, but just due to the reasons of whatever, for the business didn't go so well, in limited liability thing, the liability is limited, where the company takes the hit and you don't take the hit. You are protected. Now, another thing that you're protected from, the shielding effect, is lawsuits. If you are doing, let's say, a restaurant, right? Somebody gets sick, food poisoning, and they sue you. The company takes on the hit again. You don't. The company might be fined, let's say, a couple of $1 million, but you are okay. You're protected, right? So there's a distinct difference between the individual and the corporation, and that's what this incorporation gives you. When you're running a company that is sole proprietorship, there the problem is that you are liable personally, and anything goes wrong is your fault and you have to deal with it. Give me 1 second.
Students, cameras are off again. Can we please ask you? Let's not behave like children here. Praneeth, Trishant Singh, Priyanshi, Tanya, Harshita, Arvind, please put on your cameras.
Okay. So in case of lawsuit, in case of liability, in case of anything that deals with money or law, the company takes a hit. And according to the Indian government or most capitalist governments, the company is given the position of a person. That means the company has its own rights. The company cannot vote, but the company has rights, right? And one company can fight with another company. So for example, let's say Jishnu has a company, I have a company, and we decide to sue each other. Today, I decide, okay, I'm not going to work in this company. I'm going to be a director of another company. I move on. But the companies are still in lawsuit, right? Jishnu and I might be having dinner together. It doesn't matter because the people are changeable, right? I might even go and become a director in his company. Who cares? So the persons and the corporations are separated when you are a LLP, LLC, or a private limited company. Now, let's come to private limited company. So of all the incorporations, private limited company is the most expensive. It's not very expensive, but it's comparatively more. So a LLP, LLC takes you 6,000 rupees with legal fees and everything else. A private limited company might cost you 8,000 rupees. So just 2,000 rupees more. But the point is, it is expensive, not only for incorporation, but annual maintenance fees is also there, which is audits, right? In a private limited company, most large companies are private limited companies. And after that, when they go IPO, they become public limited companies. I'll get there a little later. So let's talk about private limited. So private limited, it costs you around 8,000, 10,000 rupees. What it allows you is multiple directors. So LLP is a partnership, right? Where there's two people running the company. In a private limited company, there could be up to 200 shareholders, according to RBI laws. So there are 200 shareholders. Of course, generally it's not more than 10 or so. But yeah, you can have as many shareholders as you want. And if you're looking for funding, if you're looking for venture capital, angel investment, and things like that, private limited company is the only form of incorporated company that you can take outside investment in. You cannot take funding in LLP or LLC. If you want funding, if you want investments, the only place you can take it is a private limited company, where somebody takes a share of your company and becomes a shareholder in that private limited company. Does it make sense so far? Have I lost you guys? Okay, just say yes if it's okay, no if it's not.
Yes, sir.
Students, please respond.
Yes, okay, cool. All right, okay. Perfect. So those are different form of company structures. Then comes compliance. GST, taxes, and whatnot. So compliance, what it means is, so as you have a company, there are some more boring aspects of running a company. So every month you will, so first of all, you'll need trade license for your business. That is for the local city or town that you're working out of. If you're a food business, you will need FSSAI approval. You will need sometimes fire approvals. Sometimes if you have like cloud kitchen like setup, you will need a few approval depending on the state that you are in or the city that you're in. There are different laws and you will need to comply with those laws. There is also health codes, like you're wearing a gloves while you're cooking. You know, there's like cleanliness in the kitchen. There are pest control and whatnot. So when you're dealing with food, which I know a lot of you folks at IIM think of businesses in the food realm because that's what you are studying. There are some compliances that are a little extra than a software company would be running. So be aware of what those laws are. They change state by state. Now, having said that, the compliance that is common to all is if you're under 20 lakhs, you don't have to worry about GST, right? Though it's beneficial, but still you don't have to worry about GST. If you're above 20 lakhs, you have to register for GST, and every month you have to file for GST, whether you have zero payment or you have to pay for GST taxes, but you have to file for GST. If it is below 20 lakhs, you don't have to, but it's nice to do. Nice to do in the sense that you get credits. I'll give you a hack here. As an entrepreneur, you will have certain privileges. I'll tell you what. So you guys shop on Amazon and Flipkart and all, right? Or buy tickets on Make My Trip. When you're an entrepreneur, you get a special thing, which is called Amazon Business, Make My Trip Business, right? These are special portals. Now, what they allow you to do is they give you GST credit. What does that mean? So first of all, you're given privilege because you're special, you're business class, right? So you get better discounts, you get group discounts and all of that. Secondly is GST credit, which means if something costs 1,000 rupees, there's going to be a GST of 180 rupees on top of it, 18% GST, right? So you eventually have to pay 1,180 or 1,200 rupees. They'll charge you, right? But when you are making it as a business expense under your company's name, you only pay 1,000 rupees. You save on the 200 rupees. Or, if you're spending, let's say now something 10,000 rupees, you save on 2,000 rupees or 1,800 rupees you save, right? So like that, you save a lot of money because you get GST credit, right? So when you are an entrepreneur, you can actually use these privileges where you make business. Now, here's the deal. Accountants won't tell you this because they're not supposed to. But I'll tell you as an entrepreneur, most of us entrepreneurs do personal expenses also. I'm being recorded, oh my God. Anyway, they do personal expenses also on and show it as business expense. For example, I'm taking my car around, right? Or I'm going for a vacation. Now I'm going to put it as a business expense. Why? Because for my mental sanity to run my company, I need a vacation. And that's what I'm doing. So it's company vacation. So I'm getting GST discounts and I'm writing it off. Here's a tax part that comes in. This is very, very cool. You guys would love this, I hope. Okay. You know how much tax Warren Buffett pays? Anybody knows? Or Jeff Bezos or any of these Elon Musk? Zero taxes. Guess why? Like Warren Buffett, in his own words, he said, my secretary pays more taxes than I do. This is not fair. The reason for that is when you're a salaried employee, the government knows what you're making. And before even you get your salary, they take out something called TDS, tax deducted at source, right? And the end of the year, they might give you a refund back or they might take more taxes from you. For an entrepreneur, it's up to us how much we pay ourselves. We don't have to necessarily pay ourselves a salary. So I might be earning 100 crores, but I might pay myself 15,000 rupees salary. Guess what? It's not taxable because it's under 5 lakhs. So I don't have to pay income taxes as an individual. Now my company has to pay taxes if it's making a profit, but I have to have that balance where what I show is that vacation that I went to Paris for, right? I spent, let's say 20 lakhs on that. That is a company expense because the CEO needs mental sanity. Oh my God. And so that 20 lakhs is an expense. So the company is not having to pay taxes on that because we are reducing tax. We are saying that is an expense. If that is a profit and I'm using my profit to go for the Paris trip, then that's where I'm paying the taxes. But when I'm saying it's expense, the company is actually having to pay for it. So I'm reducing my taxable income. I'm not paying taxes on GST, right? I'm getting GST credit back and I'm not paying personal income taxes. And my company is also saving on income taxes. So you get to have the king life and you don't pay anything or much to the government. So what do Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett do, which is legal in US and not legal in India? They pay themselves $1 salary. Literally, they pay themselves $1 salary. So everything is company expense. Their maids, their cars, their traveling, their dinner, everything is company expense. So they only pay themselves $1 salary. So no income tax for the billionaires. In India, you cannot pay yourself 1 rupee kind of salary. That would fall under, they'll cause trouble. I don't know if there's a law against it. So generally what we do is we pay ourselves 10,000 to 15,000 rupees salary. And that's it, and that way you don't pay any taxes. Mukesh Ambani, he pays himself, I think 1 crore a year. That guy makes, several thousand crores or several lakh crores rather, but he pays himself 1 crore salary. But Flipkart CEO or Amazon CEO, they are paid, they don't pay themselves. They are paid 4 crore salary. Guess what? 1 crore goes in taxes only, right? So CEO of Amazon India, I'm talking about, not Jeff Bezos, right? He's the owner, he's a director. I'm talking about CEO. Even though he's CEO, he's an employee. Employee means he gets a salary, and salary means government will take away 30% of your salary when you're at that level. But when you're an entrepreneur, when you're a director, when you are deciding what you pay yourself, then you don't have to do that. It's completely legal. Just so you know, whatever I told you is completely legal, because we live in a capitalist society where the laws are in the favors of the entrepreneurs. Good or bad, I don't know, but that's what it is. One of the benefits of being an entrepreneur. So GST, taxes, audits. Now, the thing is, you will be audited, right? Now, generally what happens, your CA company cannot be your audit. So your audit comes from some other CA firm, which are generally like, you pay them the right amount and they do the right thing, and you won't be in trouble. When you're doing business in crores, then what happens, the government also sends audit. And those guys are absolute crazy about bribes. But now things are getting better and better. So in those cases, you have to make sure that whatever expenses you're calling as personal expense and calling it as company expense, you just have to have the right balance in mind. So when you're making lots of money, don't go with my guidance that I just gave you. Go with a CA, a chartered accountant's guidance, right? So when I make large decisions, I ask my CA, I'm putting it as a company expense. Is this valid? Will I fall under the radar of the government? And he tells me, sir, this is fine, but this is not okay. You got to make sure this is taken care of by you yourself. And I make sure I do that. So when you're in the crores area, you should take CA's guidance, but below 10 lakhs, don't worry about it. When you're starting out, no point paying taxes. That's when you grow and save as much money as you can. By the way, I'm not propagating you should not pay taxes, right? Our country runs on taxes, so we should all pay taxes, but you don't have to be crazy about paying bragging about paying taxes. That's what I mean to say. All right. Credit cards. Credit cards are very, very powerful. So here is what's happening with credit cards. How many of you have credit cards? You guys are students, most of you don't. But here's the deal. Either you get used by credit cards or you use credit cards to your advantage, right? All of you, I guess you guys are all 18 years and above, would probably have a CIBIL score if you have a bank account, right? And the credit card gives you or helps you enhance your CIBIL score if you use it right? Especially running a business, this is very, very key. I'll tell you why in a few minutes. Here's what's happening. A credit card gives you 30-day period where whatever your limit is, 40,000 to 20 lakhs, right? Whatever your limit is, let's say you're using, so your credit card limit is, let's say 1 lakh, okay? And you used 10,000 rupees in a month. If you return the 10,000 in 30 days, right? By the time it's due, you have to pay no interest. It's zero interest. So that's very powerful. You can use 10,000 to 1 lakh and pay it off and zero interest. So if you are a business person, let's say, you know that I have to buy, let's say 30 t-shirts at 200 rupees a t-shirt, and I can sell them at 500 rupees a t-shirt, and I can get that whole cycle done within 30 days, right? I buy the t-shirts, I print the t-shirts, and I sell them and get my money back. So, 300, whatever the number of t-shirts, you use your credit card to buy the t-shirts, print the t-shirts, get the money, pay off the credit card, you got yourself the profit. And you didn't have to pay, no capital required. You don't have to ask your dad or mom or anybody else for the capital. Your credit card gave you the capital. You have to pay zero interest. And if it is within 30 days, it's taken care of. If it is not within 30 days, you pay the bare minimum, which is like, I think 5% or something. You pay the bare minimum and they charge you a hefty interest fee, which is 25% or 24% or sometimes 39%, right? Very high per year. Per month, it might be like 2-3%. So even 3% a month is 36% a year, which is a lot. When you get a credit card, they'll tell you, oh, the percent is very, very less. It's only 3% a month. But be intelligent. What they mean to say is 36% a year. Just to give you an understanding, a normal loan that you get will be like 10% a year, right? A home loan is around 5 to 7% a year. So credit cards are very hefty on that side, as 36%, generally speaking. So the understanding is use your credit card within the 30 days. That way you can use it. The more you do this, the more your CIBIL score grows. And ideally, you should have something above 700. Now, how does this help your business? So when you're running a business, this is your way of getting your capital, running through the money and paying it off, running through the money and paying it off, running through the money and paying it off. I do this a lot with Facebook ads. So we run around 3 to 4 lakhs worth of Facebook ads per month, right? And with that, what happens is it's on the credit card. Now, I purposely do this on my credit card because I have a very nice credit card, which gives me points, right? Here's what's happening. So when I'm running 3 lakhs on my credit card, I'm getting, I don't know how much, I think it's like 3% or so cash back, right? That's 3,000 rupees cash back, or 9,000 rupees cash back on 3 lakh rupees, right? 9,000 rupees is not a joke. It's not my money. It's a credit card company that I'm just running 3 lakhs and I'm getting 9,000 rupees back. Do you understand? I'm earning from my credit card. Isn't it insane? I'm literally earning from my credit card, right? And I can redeem it as an Amazon gift card, as a Myntra gift card. I can redeem it as whatever I want, right? They have different credit cards or different things. So the point is, I'm not spending anything. It's the credit card's money. I'm running Facebook ads. I said 3 lakhs, I'm running Facebook ads. I'm making, let's say, 30 lakhs from that, right? So it's not my money. I'm putting in credit card's money. I'm earning 27 lakhs from that. And I'm earning 9,000 rupees from the credit card. Got it? Is anybody confused? It's too much math? No? Good. I'm seeing, good to see your faces, thank you very much. I like to see you guys nodding your head. It encourages me, because otherwise I'm thinking, are you guys lost? Okay. So credit cards are a great tool as long as you don't get used by it. Never, ever leave any extra amount on the credit card, because that will pile up before compound interest, it'll kill you. That's why credit card companies spend thousands of salespeople, they have just calling and getting them credit cards, because they know the Indian mindset. They will take the credit and not pay off. And that's where they come in and they get you. And then they'll take 20 times the money from you. So it's a trap, but we should not be part of the trap. We are capitalists, so we'll make advantage of the credit system. All right, let me think if there's anything else in this area. Any questions so far? Anything unclear that you want to ask me? Okay, then we'll go to the next section, which is contracts. Now, contracts. These are very, very important aspects of doing business, because in business, as they say, honesty among thieves. Even within thieves, if they're doing business together, there needs to be some level of honesty, right? So especially within us business folks, there has to be honesty. So how do we keep each other honest? Because it's easy to say, oh, I didn't remember you said that. Is there a proof for it? So everything has to be in writing, and that's called a contract. What is a contract? What's the simplest form of contract? Anybody knows? You use it almost every day.
Sir, it's the legal form of agreement between two parties.
Correct. What is the simplest form of legal form of agreement? A legal tender that we all use every day. It's in our pockets.
So cell phone, sir?
Huh? No, not cell phone.
Mobile
Unless
recharge,
you
sir?
use it. Huh?
Mobile recharge, something, because we do it at 28 days and we pay it.
You have it in your wallet right now. Yes. Money. That's right. It's money. It's a legal tender. It's a contract where the RBI governor is signing at the bottom saying this piece of paper is worth 100 rupees or 500 rupees or 10 rupees, right? It's a legal tender. It's not a piece of paper. It's a legal tender where there's a signature and we are both agreeing that this is worth 10 rupees, 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees, or 2,000 rupees, right? So similarly, there are contracts between people where we agree that, okay, you're going to give me 15 crores. I'm going to give you 15% of my company, and you're going to be 15% owner of my company. You're going to be a preferential shareholder. You're going to be a whatever shareholder. You're going to have rights to audit my reports. You're going to have rights to my bank account. You're going to be able to, get reports from me on a monthly basis. So various things we put in paper. So let's say I'm doing business with Shraddha Panchal, right? So Shraddha says, okay, sir, I'll make you a website. I said, okay, Shraddha, so these are the things I want in my website, right? I want a homepage, I want a contact page, I want forms, I want integration with the payment gateway, blah, blah, blah. And Shraddha says, okay, sir, it will cost you 25,000 rupees. I said, fine. I want this in how much time? And so in the contract, we'll write down 90 days, 25,000 rupees. You will have so many things that we will take care of. And there will be time for you to validate that. And if there are any changes, you can ask for 3 changes at no cost. Any extra change will cost you 5,000 rupees per man hour or whatever like that. And then, all of that contract, Shraddha signs, I sign, we agree on it. Now, at the end of the 90 days, if I say, oh, I don't like this website, scratch it. Let's have a new site. I want an e-commerce site. Shraddha's like, very well, it's in the contract. Any changes, 5,000 rupees an hour. So you can pay me that. And I'll tell you, we'll need 90 hours or another 100 hours to make an e-commerce site. And you can pay me 5,000 multiplied by 100. So that's what contracts are important for. There is no speculation. There is no fighting. It's just a contract. Now I'll tell you a real story. One of my mentors, he's a multi-millionaire. This is his 3rd wife. Right now he has 4th wife. This is his 3rd wife. When he married, they had a prenuptial agreement. Just giving an example of a contract. And in the prenuptial agreement, they decided, he said, I have already a son. I do not want any children from this marriage. You will have all the privileges of a wife, but do not ask for a child, right? So there was a prenuptial agreement that both parties signed, then they got married, and she got her plastic surgery, she got everything else. She's living the life of a queen. But then suddenly she says, I want a son, I want a child. And Marshall is like, hey, you know what? I said, no, you cannot do that. Now, even though it's in the contract, she decided to go after him, take him to court. Either give me a divorce or give me the child, right? And he went for the divorce because he knew prenuptial agreement. So it will, he won't have to give anything from his side because she's breaching the contract. Nevertheless, there was tremendous harassment from her side. She not only wanted the child, she also wanted parts of his company that he owned, which was one of our companies because he had invested in our company. So she wanted 50% of his share in our company and many other companies that he had shares in. And that caused a lot of trouble. So he was getting embarrassed, humiliated. Everybody was getting to know that this wife is going crazy and everybody's getting disturbed, right, in his community. And he's a respectable man. So what does he do? He says, you know what? Even though there is a prenuptial, this legal battle is going to go on and you're going to keep harassing me. Here is $600,000. Take it and leave me alone. And they do out of court settlement where he pays her off $600,000 and she takes that money. She goes off. He's done with the lawsuit. They're divorced and done with it. Now he's with his 4th wife and they're very happily living their old age. But the point is, that's what happens also where you have a contract, but one of the parties does not agree to the contract and they take you to court and they try all different means to harass you. And a lot of times, most of the times, you do out of court settlement where there is like, okay, fine, contract is not the end all be all, Now, when it comes to inheritance and things like that, it's different. But in business, it's a little different where you do out of court settlements. Anybody watched Suits on Netflix?
Yes.
If you have watched Suits, you would know. Or The Good Wife or any of those things, they really showcase how the law can be moved, maneuvered, beaten into shape, and you can pretty much do anything you want, right? Regardless of whatever contracts you have in place. So if you have a good lawyer, you're in good shape. If you have a bad lawyer, you're dead, right? That's literally what it means. And like I said, for us, we don't have gundas, we have lawyers. And if you have a good lawyer, the more successful you are, the better lawyers you have and the better protection you have, the more muscle power you can show, right? Okay, so here are some common contracts that you will, sorry, I spelled co-founder wrong. Co-founders agreement is between the co-founders, right? So in case somebody dies, one of the co-founder dies, what happens? Which happened, by the way, one of our startups, one of the co-founders got cancer, then COVID, then he didn't die, but he was in so much stress, so much physical thing for almost 9 to 10 months that the business was about to go off, where one of the founders had to kind of cut him off. And they didn't have a co-founders agreement, so there was big trouble, right? So for situations like that, co-founders agreement is very, very important, where you agree that, okay, if this one of them die, what happens? Their wife comes in, or their family comes in, who takes over that share, right? What happens to that situation? So these kind of, or somebody was to leave, a co-founder was to leave after 3 years. So you could have clauses where it says, if you leave within 12 months, then you only have 30% of the shares that you initially started with. If you leave within 3 years, then you retain a little bit more. But if you leave after 3 years, you can retain 100% of the shares that you started with. Like Facebook, where it started, Mark Zuckerberg, and there were a few other people who helped him. He tried to dish them, screw them. I'm sure those of you who've seen the movie Social Network, you can watch it on Netflix or wherever. And it shows how he screwed his co-founders, how he stole somebody else's idea and all that. But eventually, those guys made their way through. What's his name? I forget. Sullivan.
So
Eduardo.
Saverin.
Huh?
Eduardo Saverin.
Right, Eduardo Saverin. So he he retained. So they tried to push him out of Facebook, but he retained his shares. He sued and he got back, where he was. And when Facebook went IPO, that means when it became a public company. So that moment, everybody becomes a billionaire, right? Why? Because the shares you hold in the company is worth as much as you say it is. But when it goes to the share market, it's actual cash, right? So people, so everybody became a billionaire. Now, instead of paying taxes on the billions that Eduardo now owned, he left America and came to Singapore, right? Until now, he's in Singapore. He can never go back to America. In fact, they had a special law that they created, so this never happens again, because the US government lost billions in taxes because of Eduardo leaving United States. Now, why am I going in that direction? Because, co-founders agreement. So having co-founders agreement kind of solves these kinds of issues where complications can be a little less. Having said that, if somebody is greedy, they'll go to court and things will go complicated anyway. But having a contract at least helps to a lot degree. Non-compete agreement. When you are getting somebody on board, it's your idea. You don't want that person to take your idea and go to your competitor and make them rich, right? So you have everyone in your company sign a non-compete, your co-founders, your employees, whoever you want, non-compete agreement. You cannot work with a competitor for 3 years. Non-disclosure agreement, trade secrets and things that are secret within your company, you cannot talk about it with anyone for 3 to 5 years, right? Then comes shareholders agreement. Now, this is the most crucial thing. When you are getting investment from an investor, they're going to have certain clauses, you're going to have certain clauses, and shareholders agreement is the place where you can have pretty much whatever you want, right? The shareholder can say, I want bank access, I want board access, I want this, I want that. And you're like, no, thank you. You cannot be on the board, but you can be a supervisor. You can attend the meetings, but you won't have voting rights. All these nuances are there, which you don't have to worry about yet. But the point is, that's the shareholders agreement, where two shareholders or what rights what shareholder has is defined within the confines of that agreement. And you sign and you become a shareholder, right? So now when you do stock market, that's like a little, you don't get to say or negotiate. That's where like it's just there. Whatever is the law of the government, law of the land is there. But when you're dealing with the private limited company, you get to negotiate and put your own terms. And that's where all the magic happens, really. Entrepreneurs who are smart do a lot of good stuff. I'll just give an example. Nice one. Oyo, right? So Ritesh Agarwal. So Ritesh, so there's dilution, right? So let's say 3 of us are building a business. All of us are 33% shareholders. Now, when I bring in an investor who takes on certain percent of the company, let's say they become 25%, then suddenly we all become 25%, right? We reduce from 33, I just become 25, right? Like that, dilution, it's called dilution happens. So when more investors come in, so as you know, Oyo has raised billions of dollars. So Ritesh becomes 7% owner in his own company. And he said, this is demotivating for me. So I don't want to be 7% owner at Oyo. So what did he do? He took loan from Oyo. And with that Oyo's money, he bought shares in Oyo and made himself 30% owner of Oyo, right? Now, this is beyond smart. This is beyond ethics. You don't do that, but he did it. And that's what entrepreneurs do. Sometimes we stretch our ethics a little bit, we stretch our law boundaries a little bit, and we get what we want. So now he's a much better owner, much more power in his hands, and he cannot be kicked out so easily. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Then comes employee agreement. Employee agreement is when you are hiring somebody, you give them certain aspects, and there are certain things you don't, right? For example, the first 6 months, we give them a honeymoon period. Like, okay, within these 6 months, okay, you're going to learn, you're going to make mistakes, but also from my side, you're going to be under probation. That means I can fire you on demand, right? Anytime you do something, I can fire you on demand. No 2 weeks notice, nothing, no severance package, right? You have to come to office at this time, leave at this time. You cannot be doing any other business. You cannot, there's a non-disclosure clause. You cannot talk about company secrets to anybody else, blah, 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 blah. It can be very, very complex, right? So making sure that your employee knows what to expect from the company, and the company knows what to expect from the employee, how many days of vacation, how many days of holiday, what is the compensation, all of these wonderful things are given in that document. So that's the employee agreement. And a lot of people who try to build startups are not able to because of the employee agreement, because they're working in a certain company. In fact, I'll give you another story. So Barbie, most of the girls here must have played with Barbie dolls, right? So one of the employees of Mattel, Mattel, is it? I think it's Mattel, the father company of Barbie, he decided that all Barbie dolls are white. And America has such a large Black and Hispanic and brown population. Why not have dolls that are Black, Hispanic, and brown? So he, while working in Barbie, he came up with the idea. He started the production, design, and all of that, and patents and all that. Then he launched his company. His company went up, 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 up. It started making more money. It was selling more dolls than Barbie because it became popular, because it was ethnic. It was not just white. Barbie has been white for 60 years, right? What happened? Barbie was like going nuts, like what to do, what to do, what to do. There's an ex-employee of ours. And then they found out, oh, when he filed for patent, when he was designing these things, this person was an employee in our company. So he was breaching the employment contract. And thus, we have the right to his company, because whatever you do within working for another company, according to the employment contract, it's our intellectual property. It's our property that you came up with, because we are paying you salary. So within the work hours, whatever you do, it is ours. So it was a multi-$100 million battle, and Barbie won. And Barbie got to take over that company, which was making multi-$100 million. Barbie is a multi-billion-dollar company, and they took over the company. And that guy could not do anything. He was super successful and super unique. And now today you see Barbie dolls have Indian dolls also wearing sari, right? Chinese dolls wearing whatever ethnic clothes. And that came from this. But that man got nothing out of it, because employment contract prohibited him from doing another business, and he did it while working for Barbie. So these are really, really interesting facts that you guys should know, and know that this is what the law stands for. Employee agreement. Okay, broad versus specific. So in an agreement, it's always good to be broad versus specific. For example, if you're going for a patent, right? It is one way to say, I only want this part to be patented, or to say, I want this much to be patented. This is called broad. So let me give an example. So my patent was, like I told you, my first product was the kind of necklace version of Apple Watch. It was a smart necklace for girls aged between 8 and 13. So when I filed for the patent, I didn't say a necklace that can manipulate. I said a smart device that can be manipulated by an online server, and the online server can manipulate it. And that was my patent. That means it could be a necklace, smart necklace, it could be a phone, it could be a smartwatch, it could be anything. So that's called broad. So I'm covering not just one device, but multiple devices that come under that category. So when you're writing a contract, you have to be broad. So for example, when you say this contract will be terminated or is not applicable if there's a terrorist attack, if there is a pandemic, if there is a war, so there's like 20 different things, right? So broad. When does this contract not apply? When all these extraneous situations happen. And this is a very broad definition. So you want to be as broad as possible. Anything that is an act of God, right? So the act of God means that's it. It's beyond our thing. So this contract is invalid. So when the pandemic happened, a lot of companies took advantage of that, right? And they were able to fire people away very, very easily. They're able to not pay loans. They were able to not pay vendors because there was like act of God. And according to that, this contract, I don't have to pay you anything because it's pandemic. We are all under lockdown, national catastrophe. So we have to be broad when it comes to contract. Of course, the other side will negotiate and try to make it specific, and that's where you fight. You want broad, they want specific, you want broad, they want, and you come to a middle ground. Okay, penalty clauses, intellectual property protection. Okay, now comes to basic business law. So legal tools at your disposal. So the basic legal tool that you have at your disposal is a legal notice. If somebody, let's say, has been doing something that's against your contract, whether it's an employee or a vendor or a customer or a director or an investor, anybody, you can first send them a legal notice, which costs you anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 rupees, depending on the lawyer's fees. What it does is it's a notice that is official, that is saying, hey, here's a warning. If you don't do this, I can take you to court, right? Then comes the court. So there are various court systems. As you know, you can take someone to high court. In certain cases, take them to local courts, civil courts, criminal courts, etc. Somebody's not paying you for too long, you can take them to court. Let's say you're an employee or you're an employer. There are labor laws that apply. So there is labor court. So different courts, different rules, different tools, right? That you could get. The current government has made it a very nice tools they've given us. So MSMEs, medium and small businesses, if they don't get paid within 45 days of what they were supposed to get paid, they can go to, I forget, they have to have an Udyam Aadhaar card and MSME certification. If they have that, and if they're not getting paid on time, they can do a quick little, I think, forget what court it is, but they can apply for it. And within 45 days, the person who's supposed to pay has to pay. If they don't pay, their accounts can be frozen. So a big company used to initially, eat up small companies, bankrupt them by not paying them for a long time. But now things are a little bit better. I'm not saying it always happens, but at least there are certain tools. So like that, there are a slew of tools that protects a startup or a small company from being bullied by big companies, especially when you're not getting paid and things like that. Employees also have protection from labor courts and things like that. So I'm not giving I'm not a lawyer myself. I'm just giving you a little bit of everything. Okay. Conflict resolution. So there is something called arbitration. When there's a conflict, generally you can talk it out and figure it out. Or it can be through emails, or it can be through a third party arbitrator, which is generally, it can be court appointed arbitrator who is a lawyer who sits in the middle as a kind of a judge and arbitrates, in the sense that outside court, they let the two parties talk it out and they come to a conclusion, and both parties agree that whatever the arbitrator says, they will accept. And based on that, rather than a court battle that can last for 20 years, it becomes a shorter few months, and you got the arbitration and you're done and you agree and move on. So, an escalation of conflict resolution, obviously you go to court and make it complicated, and you have legal battles and the lawyers get rich at your expense. Obtaining stuck payment, like I already mentioned. Breach of contract. When there's a breach of contract, again, legal notice, then you can go to 2 or 3 legal notices and then take them to court and get a court order on them. Death or removal of equity holders. Like I said, those should be in the shareholders agreement. If it is not there, then again, this is a matter of the law of the land or you take it to court and see, how do you battle it out. Okay, that's all for business law. Any questions? Any questions? Everything clear? Anything you didn't understand?
So what is breach of contract?
Sorry, say that one more time, Priyanshi.
Breach of contract.
Breach of contract. Okay. So I say I would do this and I don't do it. Right. So let's say you say you made me the website in 90 days and it's been almost 6 months or 10 months and still I don't have my website. So that's a severe breach of contract. So I'm going to ask you once, twice, thrice. I'm going to WhatsApp you. I'm going to email you. I'm going to ask you. Then I'm going to send you a legal notice and I'm going to take you to court. Just make sure everything is in writing. Your WhatsApp counts. Your even writing on a napkin counts. There was this one intern. He was hired by a company, and this guy just wrote on a napkin, literally, right? This is what you have to do. This is your salary, 10,000 rupees a month, right? And this intern worked for a month, and he was never paid. He actually went to court for that, and he had the napkin with him. And because of that napkin, the company had to pay 10,000 rupees. Now, of course, nobody goes to court for 10,000 rupees, but the point is, that guy did, and it was valid. So anything in writing always helps. So make sure any conversation you do is never word of mouth. In America, it is considered a valid thing. It's called verbal contract. But in India, we are not so ethical. Verbal contracts don't work here very well. So always have something in writing. And even if it is a WhatsApp, it is considered a contract.
Sir, I wanted to ask, sir, because there is more of classes going on through online. So what in case if there is a word of contract, so because I see more of the Facebook ads telling that they teach this and this, and like in case if they fail to deliver that kind of classes, so is that comes under word of contract or something? So
No. If they are saying it in an ad, then that is real. That's not word, right? Or if the thing that they're saying is recorded, like Byju's has so many cases against them.
Yeah, sir. Byju's.
They're in big trouble with a lot of lawsuits. Lot of lawsuits. Why? Because they say, okay, we're going to give you money back guarantee, and money back never comes. And the people are like, hey, you said, and nobody picks up this, that. So they're in trouble. A White Hat Junior, they got in trouble. They're like, your 14-year-old is going to get a job at Google. God bless me. How do you have the authority to even talk about Google hiring a 14-year-old when you're not even Google, right? So things like that. These are fake promises, and yes, they did get sued for that, and they had to do compensation out of court. So what these companies do is to protect their selves. They just pay people off, right? If you go to court, they'll be like, okay, fine, come out of court. I'll give you like 10 lakh rupees. Get out. Don't bother me. So that's why you never get to hear about them at the news and stuff, because on the newspapers also they have PR, right? They're paying so much for advertising. So newspapers won't write about them, about these things, because if they write, then they won't give the ads. So that's how they take care of themselves. But you can go to court for breach of contract like that. If they're advertising something that is not verbal, that is real, and you can take a screenshot of that. And if they don't perform what they're saying, or you take a recording and they don't perform what they're saying, you can hold them accountable.
Sir, that's why,
Sir, I have another doubt.
knowing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, sir, that's why knowing the terms and condition or the contracts of some company is very much advantage for us. Like it's shown in the Starbucks also. A company don't need to know their contracts or the actual things, and they fool the people around. But if you know the real acts and real laws, you can be beneficial.
True, but who reads the terms and conditions, right? So that's the whole problem, that we don't read the terms and conditions. That's why, but there is protection against that also. We are not always required. There are certain things that the government protects us, that the law of the land. If the terms and conditions go against the law of the land, then law of the land comes in to protect the civilian. But yeah, not many of us read, but there are some basic things. If you say something, you do something, you should follow through. Otherwise, you can be taken to court.
Hi,
Sir, I have
One
another
question.
question.
Yeah.
So as you told about the napkin contract, so how to justify the contract is legal or not? And is
That's why the court, right?
actually made between the two parties. So, I mean,
Yeah.
how can the court
So the
can
so the
justify that it's
napkin
written on
was
a
with this
napkin?
guy, and the person who wrote it, that handwriting is theirs. So when there's a handwriting match, so you wrote this and you gave this napkin to this person, right? And I mean, I'm not getting into Sherlock Holmes mode, but what I'm saying is,
so what in case if that handwriting is just a written document? Because when I
this
did
is
my
not the court
training,
of law, my dear.
so when I did my training, they told it in a verbal that I need to be working around 10 hours or something. But when I did the training, it was actually more than 13 or 14 hours. So
Yeah, with a country of 1 billion people, when you are in a job, they will stretch you a little bit, and it's not crazy. I shouldn't be commenting on it. Let's just put it that way. There are labor laws, but if they say 10 hours and it's 12 hours, it's okay. It's not such a big deal that you have to go to court for it.
Yeah, I do have a question. So
Yeah.
a lot of even rental agreements and stuff. So they usually do it with the stamp paper notes and all of that. So is that the only way to make it legal, or it can be only in writing?
No. Any writing is legal. Stamp paper makes it extra legal.
Okay.
Because the government wants a little piece of the pie, right?
Okay.
Government gets a little money and says, okay, there is somebody who's a witness. So it's harder to break a stamp paper kind of a thing where there is government is notified that I am signing this contract and whatnot. Like there's a will, somebody writes a will and they die. It can be contested in court. But if a will is while the person is alive, put in stamp paper and it's registered, then there's really not much you can do about it.
Okay. So then, so if as entrepreneurs, if our businesses are online, how do we get contracts signed? Because does even a Google form work in terms of keeping it legal?
Every day you're doing it. Whenever you download a software, there's a checkbox you say, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
So that does work.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
So just to give you an example, MySpace, when at the very beginning of social media, MySpace was there. There were kids getting molested. There were cyberbullies. There were pedophiles. All kinds of suicides were happening. MySpace did not go through one legal battle, because in the terms of service, whenever somebody signs up, they agree. I agree, and they get in. So when they wanted to sue MySpace, they couldn't, because in the terms of service, they agreed not to sue MySpace. So yes, it is valid and it protected MySpace.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take your leave today and see you at the next session. Bye-bye.
bye, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.